Hello, everyone. Welcome to the sixth episode of Creative Writers and Illustrators. And I'm Shamla Shanmugasundaram. Today, I'm going to be discussing this book, Shyamchi Aai, which was written by Sane Guruji. It's a cult Marathi classic written in 1933. The author was a freedom fighter and he was a teacher. And he wrote it in a span of 5 days when he was lodged in Nashik jail. And it's a nested story. There are 42 stories, which the main character, Sham, narrates over 42 days. And it's amazing that all the messages that this book conveys are relevant even today. And this book has been brought to life in English by a complete multifaceted personality, and it is a fangirl moment for me to be talking to her. I have read her columns in Mumbai's newspapers, and I've never imagined that someday I will be talking to her online. But yeah, that's enough for me. So yeah, she's Shanta Gokhale is a writer. She has written many books in English as well as Marathi. She's also been associated with the theatre world as a playwright and a critic. And she's also explored the world of films as a screenplay writer. And she's done movies, she's done documentaries. So I'm very, very delighted to be talking to you. Welcome, Shanta ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. Lovely introduction.
So, I came across this book, came across your book when I was reading this book. This is of Revolutionaries and Brave Hearts by Ravi Kumar. This is a recent release, and the first chapter of this book is related to Sane Guruji. It talks about his 11-day fast in Pandarpur outside the Vitthal temple and how he fought for the entry of classes. And that's when I discovered Sane Guruji. And I've lived in Mumbai for 20 years. And I was like, how come I haven't come across Sane Guruji? And I wish I could read a book of his. And sometimes wishes come true. And that's how Sane Guruji came into my space. I'm very, very happy, delighted to be reading it because the message is absolutely relevant for today's generation. And I'm really surprised how that happens. Because it talks about self-respect, love, motherly love, honesty, the importance of doing your work right. Right. It also deals with death in a very in a way where children don't get scared, but they kind of accept that, yes, this is a part of life. There are so many other issues in the book. So when did you discover Sane Guruji's book? This is one of the 73 books he has written, and this is his best work.
Yes. The only one that gave him this kind of universal appreciation. Like every other Marathi person, I read it as a young girl.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I was just about 9 or 10 when I first read it. And of course, I wept and wept and wept. Because, as you know from your reading, it's a very sentimental book. It is constantly, the emotions are, on the surface. Because first of all, Sham is talking about mother. And mother is a soft spot for all of us.
Yes.
All of us. So her love. The second thing, poverty. They live in poverty. And I was a privileged child. So I kept feeling terribly, terribly sad and guilty at the same time. So these were, a young person's emotions, which I experienced while I was reading the book. Later, of course, I read it as an adult, but those first impressions continue to be strong.
Right. Now, you revisited the book as an adult, and when you took this book for translation, was there something which caught your attention? Like, oh, it was right there in front of me, but you've been through so many stages of life. So there are certain things which impress us when we are kids. There are certain things which catch our attention when we are adults, right?
Yes.
What was it that you discovered new when you started translating this book?
See, actually, translation itself has to do with my mother, because when I decided to study English literature for my graduation, and I was being sent abroad for it, she said, okay, fine, you're a lucky girl, you're going abroad. And but what are you going to do? You're going to do English literature. And of what use is it to us here in this country? So I said, I will come back and teach it, because everyone in India needs it badly. And back then, of course, and you couldn't get a job if you didn't know English. So I said, I'd love to teach it. But she said, that's not enough. You will teach it to 50 people, 100 children. But that's not enough. What you should do is translate. She said, we have so many wonderful books in Marathi. And other people who can't read Marathi should be able to read them. So why don't you translate these books? I was only 16 at the time she told me, and the future was kind of way ahead. I couldn't see that far. But what she said lodged in my mind. And then the first person who asked me to translate, I thought, oh, this is what my mother wants me to do. So of course I will, without question. This is what she wanted me to do, and I will do it. I didn't know whether I had the skill for it. I just knew that I knew two languages and I knew them extremely well. So I went into it, I started translating, and at the back of my mind was this specific thing that my mother had said, that we have so much fine literature.
Yes.
And so over time, I had made a personal list of what I would translate. I was doing translations for friends, lots of friends from theater kept asking me to translate their plays. I was doing that. But meanwhile, I had this list going in my head. And I have gone through about 3 of those books I had done. Shyamchi Aai remained. It was on my list. Then Penguin approached me for a translation. It was, I remember how I welcomed that email. I just said, Whoopee, this is what I want to do. So their demand, yes, so their demand and what I wanted to do matched perfectly. And instantly I was actually writing something else. I just set it apart. I said, I'll come back to this, and started doing Shyamchi Aai. So that's how this translation came about.
So you also translated books from English to Marathi. I think Jerry Pinto's M and the Big Hoom.
M and the Big Hoom, yes.
That was
yes.
7 years ago, 10 years ago, was 7?
Not that. Was it that long? Could be. I don't know how time passes.
Okay, okay. Yes, I think that's the last book you translated from English to Marathi. So, which you
No, no,
no,
no, no.
there has been other
Last
releases.
book
Okay, okay,
I've just finished,
okay,
not published yet,
okay,
but this is a book by Sudhanba
okay,
Deshpande called Halla Bol,
okay,
The Death and Life of
hmm,
Safdar Hashmi.
okay.
So this is the book that I've just finished translating, and we are looking for a publisher
So
for it
that's from
now.
Hindi to English.
No,
The
he wrote it in English,
English. Okay,
and
okay.
I've translated it to Marathi.
Marathi. Okay,
So after my first translation into Marathi was Dev Patel's play,
right.
Mr. Behram.
Okay, okay,
And after that came M,
okay,
and now Halabol.
right.
So three major. Otherwise, I've done short
Yes, you have
stories.
lots. Yes, lots of
Yeah,
them. Yeah. So,
these
is
are
the
the main.
process easy? Which comes to you effortlessly? Translating from Marathi to English or English to Marathi?
Nothing comes effortlessly.
You have to read the text nearly 2 to 3 times.
Oops.
There's so much of detailing
Yeah.
I find.
Translation is such hard work because you're not a free person. When I'm doing my own writing, I can please myself. I can use whatever words I want to. I can describe whichever way I want to. Here, I'm bound to a text. And what I am writing has to parallel that text as exactly as possible.
Right.
So it's very difficult work uh, because, and particularly between Marathi and English. Either way, these two languages are so far apart in culture because the language
Yes.
carries the culture.
Yes.
So they're so far apart uh, that sometimes, particularly, for instance, emotional things are very difficult to find equivalents
Yes.
in English.
Right.
And the other way around, there is such a richness of subtle shades of meaning in English, which are extremely difficult to translate into Marathi. So, either way, there are problems. As far as the languages themselves are concerned, English and Marathi, I'm equally easy with both. So, whichever way I translate, I think there's that part of me jumps out and takes over. I must be a split personality because one language never leaks into the other.
Right.
When I'm in Marathi, I'm in pure Marathi. When I'm in English, pure English. That's how I operate.
Uh,
So,
I'm curious to know if when when you translate a bit of text from Marathi to English, does it condense or does it expand? If you can just read a paragraph in Marathi and the same text in English, that would be wonderful.
yeah, I'll do that. But before I do that,
Yeah.
I'll answer this question.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does it expand? Does it contract? I worked with Glaxo for 9 years,
Yeah.
and I was bringing out their house magazine. Now, the house magazine used to be written first in English, and then I did the writing in English. Then I had to translate it into Marathi. The person who was doing it before me always had a space problem because the Marathi overflowed compared to the English. And the first time I did it, and my boss said, any extras? So I said, extras? What extras? She said, no, I mean, is it all here? So I said, yeah, it's all here. So it just depends on how you use your language. Any language can be expanded, but you have to be conscious, aware, and then it's exactly as much English as Marathi, no more, no less. Now I'll read the passage. It's a short passage.
A small passage you do, yeah. First in Marathi and then in English.
Yeah, okay.
Can you show the book's cover? The book's cover, the Marathi book's cover. Shyamchi Aai. Okay.
Yes.
So this is a recent.
Very recent.
The cover, yeah.
This is very recent, yes. The edition itself is recent.
Okay.
This publisher bought the rights to Shyamchi Aai in 2011.
Oh.
And between 2011 and now, this is the 18th edition.
Wow.
In 9 years. So it's like two in 1 year. Must be. Okay.
Yeah.
So
It's good to see. Yeah. The book is flying. Yeah.
Would you like me to give just a 4-line introduction?
Yes.
See, here in the old days, Marathi schools were Marathi schools. And then there were some schools which started teaching English in the 4th standard. Now, Shyam has been sent after his 3, he goes into the 4th, into a school where they're teaching English. And this school is far away from his village. So it's about what they call 6 courses away. One course is equal to nearly 2 miles. So each weekend he walks home and walks back. And in this passage, his father has walked there, carrying for him a sweet which he loves. Now he is in this school where he is the only poor child. Everyone else is well off. So that's the background to the passage which I will read. Okay. सहा कोस वडील चालून आले. का आले? तो खरवस की एक खरवसाची वडी मुलाला द्यावी. किती प्रेम, त्या प्रेमाला कष्टही आनंद रूपच वाटत होते. खरे प्रेम तेच ज्याला अनंत कष्ट, हाल वर आपत्ती सुंदर आणि मधुर वाटतात. पण मला वाटलं मुलं मला हसतील. ते का तुझे वडील? काय फेटा बांधलाय, काय तो कोट घातलाय, असं म्हणून मला चिडवतील. याचंच मला वाईट वाटत होतं. वडिलांच्या दृश्याकडे मी पाहत नव्हतो. वडिलांच्या हृदयाकडे मी पाहत नव्हतो. माझीच मला काळजी होती. माझ्याच प्रतिष्ठेच्या पूजेचा मी विचार करीत होतो. आपण सारे जण अहमवेद असतो. वडील म्हणाले, श्याम, तुझ्या आईने तुझ्यासाठी खरवस पाठवलाय रे. तुझ्यासाठी मी घेऊन आलोय. ते तू व तुझे मित्र वाटून खा. त्यांनी खरवसाची बोगणी माझ्याजवळ दिली. इतर मुलं माझ्याकडे पाहून फिदी फिदी हसत होती. मी शरमलो होतो. माझे वडील पुन्हा म्हणाले, श्याम, अरे बघत काय बसलायस, टाक उरकून, लाजायला काय झालं रे. या रे मुलांनो, तुम्हीही घ्या. श्यामला एकट्याला खायला लाज वाटते. एकट्यानं नाहीच खायचं, सर्वांनी मिळूनच खायचं. इतर मुलं निघून गेली. माझे मित्र फक्त राहिले. एक धीट मित्र पुढे आला. त्याने भांड्याचं फडकं सोडलं. ये रे श्याम, या रे, आपण फस्ता करूया ह्याचा, असं तो म्हणाला. आम्ही सारे खरवसावर घसरलो. माझे वडील बाजूला जरा पडले होते. ते दमून आले होते. त्यांनी खरवस घेतला नाही. आम्ही देत होतो तर म्हणाले, तुम्हीच खा. मुलांचीच खाण्याची गंमत आहे. Now I read the English. Bhau had walked 6 kos just to bring his son a special treat. It had given him joy to do this for me because he loved me very much. That is what love is. It makes hard work and hardship seem sweet and beautiful. But in that moment, it bothered me that my schoolmates would laugh at me. Is that your father? They would wonder. Look at his turban and that coat. Only my discomfiture mattered to me. We are all self centered. We are concerned about our honor, our happiness. Bhau said, Sham, your mother has sent you some kharvas. Share it with your friends so I can take the can back with me. He handed the can to me. The other boys were sniggering. I was feeling thoroughly ashamed. Bhau said, Sham, why are you gaping? Why are you feeling embarrassed? Come on, boys, eat. Sham is feeling too shy to eat by himself. He shouldn't eat by himself anyway. We should always share what we have. Many of the boys went away. Only my friend stayed back. One stepped forward boldly, opened the can, and said, Come on, let's wipe this can clean. Then all of us pounced on the kharvas. Bhau moved away and sat down to rest. He refused to eat any of the kharvas, although we kept pressing him. No, no, it's meant for you boys. I'm just enjoying watching you eat.
Khub chan, khub chan. I think that's the beauty of the stories. That all these stories you can just. I mean, the years have changed, but the emotions what a child goes through remains the
Yes,
same. You can
yes,
relate to it.
absolutely.
I think it's a
Yes,
beautiful story. This set of stories should be discussed. Every family has a set of family values.
yes,
And,
yes,
it's a good book. One can use, a parent can use as a tool to discuss
yes,
what their family values are. And every
absolutely.
story has this beautiful message. I mean, even though
Yes,
books
all,
they say you can't preach down to a child,
huh.
but these
See, that's the point. That is the point. That at the time when Sane Guruji was writing, I think we were a very pious lot of people. Especially in India, we love receiving messages. Even today, I can tell you a recent experience of a young person suddenly getting up from his seat, sitting by my feet, and saying, Give me a message. And don't give messages. So that kind of culture is still with us. People love receiving messages. So things haven't changed too much.
Mm,
What has changed
mm,
is boys and girls who live in cities,
mm,
in the bigger cities, and go to particularly English medium schools,
mm,
where they move away from this kind of emotional culture to something that is closer to individualism,
yes, yes.
closer to rationalism, that sort of
Mm,
thing.
mm,
So these are the children who don't belong to that emotional space. But I, I think from what I have observed, young children in villages and even small towns still are very emotional. And this book is directed towards the emotions of people.
mm,
But what you say is exactly what I was thinking when I was translating this book,
mm,
that every story throws up a point that can be discussed,
yes.
whether it is in a school situation or a family situation. So then, back then,
Mm,
I read it by myself.
mm,
And once in a while, I would say to my mother, look, I don't like, why is she beating him?
mm,
Or why is the father behaving like this? Because my parents were very liberal. So I saw it in that context. But
mm,
I had no issues with the messages themselves. Today, I think they need to be discussed.
yeah.
And if this book can be read by a mother and child together, or the child reads and then they discuss it afterwards, I
Mm.
think both parents and children will get something from
Yes, yes, yes. If there is one message, one takeaway from this book for children, what do you think that should be?
it. It's, I think I would say, um, just be mindful of love,
Yes.
not take it for granted.
Mm,
That is something that Sham is trying to say through the book. There are many messages, but the bottom line message is this,
mm,
that love is important.
mm,
Hate and anger are not important. If you get love, you
mm,
give love. And loving is the most important thing you can do in life. It's good for you, it's good for people. If you love, I would say that's the message.
yes, a beautiful message. Which is your favorite story from this book? Some instant which kind of
Uh,
made you happy,
yeah, well,
resonate with your own
uh,
childhood, some instant where you kind of felt that, yes, this is something I felt too.
that one, that is where Sham has to learn swimming. He,
Okay.
he, he is scared of water. He's shit scared of water. And his mother has been prodding him to go and learn because village is full of wells.
Yes.
And she says, you have to learn swimming. Everyone knows swimming. All the boys, even the girls. What's wrong with you? So one Sunday, she decides that this child has to be forced. She calls her friend, his friends. They've all come to take him. He is nowhere to be found. He's hiding in the loft. And the mother goes and beats him brutally all the way down and kind of throws him out of the house. You're not coming back till you know how to swim. So I'm afraid I was very scared of water. And this story came so close to my experience because Sham finally, he does exactly what I used to do. I was being taught swimming, and I would go, it was a pool, not a well. I would walk to the edge of the pool, say, close my eyes, 1, 2, 3, and I wouldn't jump. I'd come back again and do this entire exercise continued. There was some chap, I mean, we knew him, who was standing there, who got fed up of this exercise of mine. He came, picked me up, and just threw me into the water. I learned to swim.
Okay.
Sham also learned to swim. But I never forgave that man for throwing me in. So that story, I thought when I was reading it, yeah, I'm with you, Sham. Yeah.
So we've come to the end, and thank you so much for coming and talking to me here. And viewers, please do check out this book. It's a wonderful, wonderful book. I think it's a family book, uh, to be read with your children and having wonderful discussions. So thank you so much. And
Thank you, Shamala. Thank you very much for reading it in the first place. I love anyone who reads my books.
okay. So
Okay.
yeah, thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Bye.